Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. It's 1 second here. Let me just get this plugged in. I wanted to get started. In our daily experience, I'm sure we've all had this feeling of waking up and holding a certain sense in our body, like an anxiety that hit us out of nowhere, not being able to understand like why we're feeling this way or why we're feeling down, depressed, why we're kind of feeling like exhausted or depleted afterwards, and where this came from. And in order to be able to understand, self from not self, we need to be able to decipher and work with our body in a sense of asking questions and really being in tune to what feels uplifting versus what feels like a dead weight. One of my favorite tools right now is it's called truth testing. And basically, from a relative perspective of what is true for you, everything that you're experiencing, your body will give you the answer to in ways that don't necessarily make sense logically. But if you imagine like the way you've learned lessons from, say, the younger self of you, the younger version of you, you have that hindsight from, say, between you and your teenage self, or you and your inner child, or the kid version of you. And you can send those data streams back in time from the things that you know now. So in that sense, there's also the forward-looking timelines, and your body already has the answers from the future aspects of you, from the person who's already figured it out, from the person who maybe made a mistake and is sending you kind of like a warning about, oh, this person doesn't feel quite right. Like they're nice and all, I just don't really, it's not even liking them. It's more of like, there's something off about them. And that's your future self in a sense, also just sending those data streams back to, caution you of something that may occur if, you're not picking up on it. Hey, everyone, you guys just newly dialing on. So to get started, one of the best tools that can help you figure out anything is just asking your body yes and no questions. It's one of those things where you're going to want to practice it with, small incremental bits, things that, if you get it wrong, it's not going to be the end of the world. Like, in other words, you might not want to start off asking your body the questions that would make a huge difference if you don't get the intuitive accuracy from the yes or the no you're going to get. What I like to do is just sitting or standing, upright with your legs uncrossed. If you ask yourself, let's say, okay, so we're in September now. If you say, hey body, or truth, is this month December, and you just feel into the way your body leans, a no is going to be like a sinking feeling, like a dead weight, like a leaning backwards. Like I feel my body literally like pulling myself back. It's going to be like a heavy, like sluggish kind of like sunk. A yes is going to be uplifting. It's going to be a lightness, and it's going to be a little bit like projecting forward. So, going like this, my name's Melissa. Hey body, is my name Melissa? And, I practice this daily, but automatically I'm leaning forward, kind of just going up and out. And this is a really good way to understand, certain things you're experiencing, or energies that you may be picking up from either the collective consciousness, from an encounter that you've had with another person. We have those people who are pulling energy in a way of like always being the whiner and complainer, and everything's wrong and you can't seem to cheer them up. And in a sense, they're unconsciously, taking energy from you, not because they, know what they're doing, but that's all that they know. So in order to open up our awareness to a wider spectrum of information that we can read, we need to first be able to free up what's not ours, things that we've been assuming are ours, or things that have been, bogging us down to a sense where we're primarily only fixated on avoiding pain, numbing pain, getting rid of pain, or eliminating this discomfort of feeling. Whenever I have a new feeling that comes out of nowhere, if you've ever noticed like your mood has kind of seemed to shift in a sense, something that you can't describe, like there's nothing that caused it, there was no catalyst, but all of a sudden you're just feeling, stressed, or like you want to, be able to, I don't know, just shut everything down for the day and kind of like zone out. Hey, Amanda, thank you for joining us. Hey. So when we're looking at energy and emotions, this is kind of like, you'll have to bear with me. I talk in metaphors, and some of them are, I don't know, they're just, what I'm picturing is like, the commercial with the grilled cheese sandwiches, and you have this grilled cheese, you cut it in half, and then they pull it apart, and there's like the little strings that kind of like the goopy, like, yeah, like this is what, yes, the cheese ball, thank you. That's exactly it. So when we're talking about, energy, and from a clairvoyant sense, when we're looking at our luminous energy field and our aura, the two grilled cheese halves would be like me and another person, or some sort of, you're talking with somebody, and there's the chords being formed, and each chord has its own sort of story, data set, emotion. Ones will be carrying specific maybe patterns or habits. Like, for example, I'll give you, like one from my personal life. Up until recent years, I had a really hard time being, assertive and setting boundaries and speaking up for myself, or saying no to things, like saying no to things I didn't want to do, or, taking on extra work. And then of course, obviously, like, by people pick up on it, whether they know it or not, right? Like it's obvious to somebody else. So there was this pattern of having, colleagues or, partners just totally like, I was a doormat. I would do everything that they asked me to do, and I wouldn't be able to say no. So one of those chords, for example, could be connecting you to all of the people where you've played out this tug of war, this control drama, this energetic pull of somebody playing one archetype and somebody playing the other archetype. And in order to master, our interactions with others, but also the way we exist and operate in the world as, I guess, conscious participants or conscious creators, we need to be able to understand and be honest with ourselves, in the stories we've been just repeating and cycles we've been repeating. With coronavirus, another, big issue is the collective consciousness, which obviously, I don't know why I'm talking, like, I just had a dinner, but I don't know why I'm talking in all food metaphors. So what's coming to mind is like the giant party-sized pizzas that you share at like a birthday or something. The collective consciousness is we all contribute to it, participate in it, exist in it. It's one aspect of self that is everything going on. So your hometown, the political landscape, the news, the entire globe there's different levels of collective consciousness. So the imprinting that we're getting, on an invisible level, or on a, I guess, energetic level, is going to be largely affected also by what's happening in your immediate whereabouts, your immediate proximity, as well as the entire collective. And it's really interesting because I'll give another one here is I moved into this home, and it's like a shared townhome. And downstairs there's a girl, she's really nice. She's probably about my age. Shortly after she moved in, I started, so I sometimes get like spiritual downloads and channel messages and stuff. And without asking the questions of like, is this stuff even for me? I assumed that it was for me, not knowing any better, but I was actually channeling stuff about like her and her dad. And I couldn't make sense of it. So it could be anything from emotions to, physical pains, aches, or things that you're taking on, sort of blaming yourself for, maybe even just seeing as an insecurity when you're actually just psychically absorbing it, from other people who are close nearby, or people in your life, or the big picture, the collective picture. Thinking about timelines ahead and backwards, sort of like, I know now what I know because of lessons I've learned, because of some things that went well, some things that may have, gone wrong. And so if I could go back in time, like to my teenage self, my kid version of myself, I could send those data streams backwards. And that's the same way we get those intuitive hits and nudges, where some things like telling you about maybe a specific person, or something doesn't feel quite right, you have no grounds for it. They've never been mean to you. They've never been rude. They're actually probably nice people, but something's like, oh, that's really like, that person just is really off, and not even in a judgmental way. That's like future timelines of yourself sending back the lessons learned from, hey, you should probably avoid this interaction, or hey, this is not somebody that is actually, you know, coming with the intentions that they're setting out. So it's not necessarily a matter of past, present, future. It's kind of like an ongoing conveyor belt of all of the you know, there's the tomorrow you, the yesterday you, there's the you at the end of the year. It's all connected. If you're looking at a sweater and there's like the fabric's interwoven, and you pull out one thread and all of it gets a little bit looser, right? And then you pull out another thread, and then it's like slowly but surely coming apart faster and faster until it's completely, you know, like just discombobulated. And in a good way, these clearing statements help to override your neural grooves and your neural pathways, so that it's removing this energetic charge of like, this is good about me. This means that I'm valuable. This means that I'm not valuable. I'm not lovable. I'm not deserving. This means anything about me, whether it's good or bad. You're just kind of smoothing it out altogether, so that you're not reinforcing the self-talk and the stories that you're, you know, tying to yourself, which may not even have anything to do with you, but you're just sensing from others. Okay, so this is a bunch of them, but the clearing statement part of it is, so anywhere and everywhere you've done X, Y, and Z, so you've played out a certain story, or you've said something about yourself. For example, anywhere and everywhere I've told myself that I'm just really bad at making decisions, or I'm just so indecisive, or that I have to, you know, read the menu. All this food is coming through, but like read the menu ahead of going to the restaurant, because I'm going to be put on the spot and then have a negative reaction where I feel like I'm slowing people down because I need more time. And I've made that mean something about myself. You say, I destroy, delete, and uncreated, times a godzillion, good and bad, right and wrong, pot and pock, all 12 shorts, boys and beyonds. And it's sort of like getting to the different layers of an onion. You're peeling away like the structures, the imprinting, and the point of creation. So basically it's like the different bubbles of thoughts that lead to the next thing. So then from there, you're going to start playing it out in the back of your head, and you know, it's going to stick with you for the rest of the day or in other situations, and you're kind of just stopping it all together. Another part of what I use almost daily is one of these emotion wheels. And if you're someone that's like, you know, somebody that doesn't always know what they're feeling, for me, this was a big thing, is like, I know I feel bad. In the beginning of my healing journey, I knew something was off. I knew like there was a discomfort or like a disconnect or something was up, but I couldn't figure out what it was. I didn't know what I was feeling. I didn't know if it was like, you know, stress, or if it was just exhaustedness, or if it was me being just overly critical. And when you look in, there's like different layers. So there's like, you know, happy, peaceful, joyful, scared, mad, sad. Those are like your big categories. And then from there, they break it down into like subcategories, and then even further out subcategories. So you can get like a pendulum from, I mean, anywhere from like Amazon to, you know, a metaphysical store. Mine is copper. I use copper and brass because it just works well for my body. Like it conducts a lot of your energy and like the electricity that's firing. So it'll change directions. And you can basically print off one of these from Google. I just laminated mine. And then if I don't know what I'm feeling, I can ask like, hey body, what's up? Like what's going on here? And then it'll start writing off. So right now I'm thoughtful, and I'll be like, oh, okay. So that's what thoughtful feels like. And then you can kind of, you know, form those associations. There we go. The other tool that I use with my body is just asking like, is this even mine? And a lot of the times we get these impressions from other people, and the feeling exists in our field because of that grilled cheese sandwich, the cheese pull, where the cords are kind of connecting us to another person. So even though we've left the interaction, we were hanging out with them earlier in the day and we're back home now, but we're still feeling, you know, whatever we're feeling from them. It's actually maybe something that they've embodied, and that we're still sensing, and then we assume that it's, to do with us. So you say, if you're sitting again or standing, you can do this with like a lean. It depends on what works for you, or you'll feel the uplifting lightness or the kind of sunk, like heavy weight for a no. Let's give it a try. So like if you're wherever you are sitting and stuff, I'm trying to think of a good example to ask. Okay, so just say like, hey body, is Melissa holding a telephone? And just feel for a second what it feels like. For me, like the no's always are kind of like right where I'm sitting, like it just, everything goes down. Like I imagine all of the pixels and bubbles of, cells inside of us just sinking to the bottom, like just womp. Versus the yes is going to be like a springing, like upright kind of, not that dramatic, obviously, but it will give you the right answer for you every time if you can let go of the need to logically explain it. So this is obviously water. If you were to ask again, like, hey body, is Melissa holding water? And then feel what a yes feels, it feels lighter. And the more you practice it, the more you'll master it. You'll be surprised to see like how much is, it's questionable. And it's a really good way to also discern what other people are saying. For me, I've had a lot of like narcissistic, manipulative type of people in my life. And half of my wisdom has come from, reading books and understanding their strategies, understanding like the 48 laws of power and like all these ways people kind of compete for this unconscious hierarchy of, being superior to each other. And those are all fine because then I can pick up the what's called like the tactics that are being used or identify them. But the most helpful thing is just feeling into the conversations or the dynamics of people that are, not necessarily trustworthy, and being really aware of what my body's saying. Because even if I don't know what it is they're doing, I can still be alerted of them playing something, and then it'll end up coming out like a couple days later. And then I'll be like, oh, that's why I was feeling this. So
can I ask about the like physical doing of this a little bit more?
Yeah, please do.
Thank you. So I was wondering about, like, you said just do it from seated, and like your examples have been like kind of holding something. So are there other optimal just like physical ways to ask this question, or like putting your hand on your heart or etc.?
Yeah, for sure. So what I would definitely recommend is just try like starting with yourself. Like you can obviously do it with things that you already know the answer to, just to get familiar with the difference. So for example, if you were to say, hey body, or I say hey body or truth, because then, truth is like whoever I'm asking the question to, it'll just be the consciousness of truth that comes in. Is my name Amanda? And feel what it feels like in your body. And my body's like leaning, but like for you, it's going to be different, obviously. How do I put this? So this is something that I use every day and all day. And the more you use it, the more it's a tool that you have to start working up sort of like the trust within yourself to really like be able to rely on knowing that you'll get the answer right. So when you practice with small things that are insignificant, small decisions that, aren't really going to make or break it. Like, for example, asking your body questions like, hey body, do I want to eat, I don't know, like a tuna sandwich for lunch? Sometimes our head will think we do, but our body actually craves something different. So if you get the wrong answer for that, and then the tuna sandwich ended up not being that great, whatever, it's not a make or break. Kind of, like there's no risk to it getting wrong, right? And the more you work up to that, you can use it for more important questions. Like right now, for example, I'm launching an online course, and I'm like, hey body, is Teachable going to be the platform that creates the most value for the people that I'm meant to reach? And I get yes or no compared to another course, and something like that would have more of like a a benefit or like a importance of it. So it's really about just doing it, all throughout your day with like small things. Hey, should I take the shortcut here, or should I go this way? And then you'll be surprised to see how your body can actually lead you to like really synchronistic, experiences. The other way to do this also is to take like your hand. I usually use my left hand, and if you just take a few breaths to like center yourself, you can calm yourself, and then just, without looking at it, just focus all of your attention to your hand and the energy like flowing through it. And then I'll say, connecting to my higher self. And you'll feel like a zing. And like, it's really funny. It's like, again, the little molecules or cells or whatever, they just flying forward to the end of your hand. Like, it's like, yes. And then from there, you can ask the same question. So you'll get the yes for, you're connected, as well as for yes to the answer. And then for something no, like, it's quite sunny here right now. So like, is it raining outside? And you'll feel it kind of going slowly back, like this way instead, like back to your arm as a no. The other thing I wanted to talk about is biomimetic mimicry. And, we know in nature that some of the best human inventions have come from mimicking, how nature works, or things in nature, things in the animal kingdom, and coming up with similar solutions for our lives, right? For example, like suction cups for like, I don't know, people who are like trying to like climb up a thing, like in the spy movies. That was, inspired by, say, I don't know, one of those bugs or something that can like, climb up things like that. We unconsciously also mimic the people around us. And I'm sure you've had scenarios where you've met a new friend at school or whatever. And, after hanging out with them a few times, you start picking up on like their nuances, or like their little quirks and traits, or like ways that they say certain things. And then like, when I moved to Bermuda a few years ago, people used to say like, that's ace, or like my ace boy, meaning like, your go-to, like your right-hand man. And before you know it, you start, just kind of taking it on as your own and existing in that way. Without knowing it, we can also be mimicking the pathways and the physical aches and pains of people around us. A lot of the times this happens when we have like an authority figure, partner, a caregiver, or someone in our life that, they're obviously, they're the kind of people that just are not willing to look at things or address things or heal, or they're just choosing not to, right? And, as sensitive people, or as compassionate, empathetic people, we sometimes automatically try to like take it on for them in that like hero, savior, rescuer kind of complex. Like, okay, well, if they're not going to do it, I'm going to feel the pain for them so that like they don't have to suffer. And like, it's one of those things that we spend a lot of our capacity, our operating drive on trying to sort of shield, or put yourself between their pain points, or what you can see is the reason that they're feeling that way, and sort of doing it as a protective measure, but by taking it on and making it your own. There's 3 clearing statements that are about mimicking people's pains, insanities, realities, and pathways. So, for example, without knowing it, a lot of the scarcity and poverty consciousness comes through, ancestral trauma, and like this can be anything from growing up in a family with, parents who were immigrants, or their grandparents being immigrants, or family, just the stuff that was passed on from the previous generations. I know my mom's parents, for example, were really poor. My mom had a lot of shame because like her mom, when she was growing up, was like the janitor of her high school. And, I think maybe back at the time, it was a lot more like people were like really cruel about it. And the things that we inherit are sort of pre-programmed in our epigenetics and our framework for seeing the world. So I have to be really conscious as a mom, for example, about the stuff that I'm saying to my daughter. As an example, one will be like, oh no, we can't buy that toy because that's way too expensive right now. when I hear her saying it back to me, and whether or not that was true, whether that was something I was just using to kind of like give her a no, you know, without like trying to like beat her on, like trying to let her down gently, or whether it was true at the moment because we were going through a hard time, she's starting to repeat that and then framing that toy as like a $9 LOL piece of, you know, junk or whatever, as like, okay, that equals expensive, that equals too much. And then in her head, she's already forming those associations of, well, the dollar store is, you know, that's reasonable, or that's deserving of me, and forming all of these like mind-blowing connections that are so far beyond the simple answer I was just giving her with which I had like no intentions of. The other thing that is really cool about understanding the emotions and not making it necessarily mean anything about us, but just seeing it as like energy in motion, as a temporary experience. All of these, you know, philosophical ways of looking at it, they're nice, and you know, when you're neutral, when you're not experiencing them, it's much more interesting to understand it. Like you can get it, but when you're in an emotion, it's more like, fuck that. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're feeling it, you're uncomfortable. You don't care about like Eckhart Tolle talking about, you know, oh, this is just a transient moment in time and cherish everything. Like you're just like, no, I want to get out of it because I'm not feeling myself. So in that case, what I do is I try to identify what the emotion is. And again, by asking questions, when you're talking to your body, you're going to be practicing, and you can get more intricate, you know, as you build that relationship with yourself. So when I ask myself now, like, you know, is there any emotions that I'm holding that are ready to be released? I will get like an answer, sort of in my, you know, the way we think, like an answer, like a flash will come into me. And from there, what I can do is take the energy of the emotion and kind of disintegrate it into smaller parts where it's just going back to like the original essence. So for example, say I'm having a really bad day, right? And say I'm feeling like aggravated. So I'll say, okay, hey body, anywhere, and you can do it either in your head or saying it out loud. I like to say things out loud because I believe that, like, you know, you cast your word as kind of like your wand. And there's also the vibration of just your voice kind of, it's like an oomph, like a added, I don't know how to put it. I'll say, hey body, light up anywhere and everywhere we're carrying, holding, storing, feeling or expressing, aggravated. And then I'll feel it in certain points of my body. You'll get maybe like a ping somewhere, or like a feeling like you need to itch, or like you'll get like maybe like an ache in the side of your stomach, near your solar plexus. You'll know that's where you're carrying that emotion. And then what you can do is just say, okay, you know, I felt it. Is there anything I need to understand about it? Whatever. And then sometimes you'll get like an insight of, oh, it's because this person said this to you and you're still like trying to process it, right? Other times you're not going to get anything, and then you can just release it as it is. So what you can say is, okay, let's convert it back to its original form of energy. I say just protons, neutrons, ions, etc. And then I imagine them in my, you know, in my third eye, or just in your head, rumbling, sort of like boiling water. Rumble each cell faster for a full and complete release. And then I just picture like the little cells just kind of, you know, moving faster and faster and getting smaller and smaller until they're kind of, you know, disintegrating and detaching the story, the meaning, or the context of like, well, this person thinks less of me, and this means that I'm off my, you know, off track here, or making it mean anything about me, and just putting it back to, okay, well, it's just a matter of energy. We can just get rid of it and release it. And then what we can do from there is using a couple methods. We can either do, are you guys familiar with tapping at all, like EFT?
A bit.
EFT is it's basically going through a couple of points on your meridians. So you'll be tapping at different points.
You know, right now what's going through my mind is that I moved into a new rental house, and so much of the angles are so awkward and the light switches, and I can't help but be just upset, even though it's a beautiful place and a wonderful location. There's just I just like am having trouble loving the home, and I know I need to.
That's fabulous. Okay, so this is a really good example. Intuitively, I'm picking up it's like a defined limitation, right? So you're coming in and obviously moving into a new home is like an exciting thing. You're like, yeah, I'm starting over, like it's gonna be great. And you're already like, I'm gonna, set it up, and then that's gonna lead to you have all of these like preconceived ideas of good things that could come out of it. So when you're then moving into the home and you're like, I don't know how I'm supposed to put my bed here. Like, I was like big on feng shui, and I couldn't figure out like how to align it in the success direction that you're supposed to sleep in, because the room just wasn't like in that shape. And the more we are focusing on what's not going right, the more we're closing off sort of like the blinders to all of the other possibilities that would just dawn on us like when we're least expecting it. So usually we get the best ideas when we're like in the shower, or like just not thinking about it. It just boom, like pops into our head from that's what a download is. It's like just that burst of cosmic intelligence just pouring right into with an idea. But when we're too focused on the constraints of it, we just reinforce that there. So what I would be doing is focusing on anywhere and everywhere I've already bought and sold the idea that, the asymmetry of my room or the color of the walls is not for me, is disappointing, and then just name the things you're feeling honestly, without judgment. This is I don't know, sometimes like my shadow self will be like, this is a waste of money, like you should have, whatever. And
right, or just like, this isn't good enough, or something.
exactly, or there's nothing I can do about it, So we'll be clearing out all of those, and then I destroy, delete, and uncreate it all times a godzillion. I'll type that in the chat there. And you can interchange anywhere and everywhere I've already decided that, or anywhere and everywhere I've told myself that. So told myself that, I usually use it for like self-talk or self-criticism. Whereas like I've already decided that you're coming into the house, and then you're noticing it's not the way you want it to be, and then you've decided that you can't do anything with it, so you're limiting yourself to all the other ideas that might be possible. So for example, once we're clearing this out, if we went through it, like anywhere and everywhere I've already bought and sold the idea that I can't arrange my furniture in the way that I would like, or that the walls are just not in a shape that's going to be the way I had envisioned it, and there's nothing else I can do about it. I destroyed, delete, and created all times a godzillion, good, bad, right, and wrong.
So it's either told myself, sold the idea. What was the third one that you used? Convinced, I think, or
decided.
Or decide. Okay.
Yeah. And that's where you're just already coming to terms with the fact that like, oh, it's just a mistake, or I just I shouldn't have moved here, or whatever. Like you're coming to a conclusion about it. So once you've cleared a couple of those, and I try different variations too, because I've noticed that in my own healing work, or even just in my own perception of stuff, it's usually layered. So from there, I'll usually have a limiting belief of, I always do this, like I always just make an impulsive decision without, actually going through and asking to see it again. And now this means something about me, that I'm not speaking up for what I truly want, or asking more questions because I'm not trying to burden, I don't know, the real estate agent or whatever it is. Like it's just usually connected to other things. So just go through that a couple times. And then I'll ask myself questions about opening up the possibilities. So this then, now that we've cleared it, and it's good to first clear it and then do the opening up right away, so that you're rewriting it in a more like expansive sense of like the floodgates basically of everything that's possible. So I'd say, okay, hey universe, if you believe in the universe, if you believe in just a higher power, or even just hey house, what else is possible? What we're going to be doing is asking for specific things to show up. And this is a really, really cool, really magical tool. It's called a universal ask. So what I do is I will be taking something that I want to figure out, like, for example, the colors of the walls, right? Hey, universe, or hey, house, I see that you're this color. It's not really my thing. Like, what would it take? What would it look like? What would it feel like for a mind-blowing, idea that is so simple and so doable and so affordable, and that is allowed, like something that I can change that the landlord wouldn't, have any problem with, that will make this place exactly the way I need it to be, or the way that would feel good to me, or I don't know, whatever aesthetic you're going for, whatever the desired result is, and leaving it vague enough for, there's times you can use it. And I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here because I'm just realizing that this is probably a whole other tutorial because it's so powerful. But so there's times when you want to manifest like a specific solution. So for example, saying like, I really like those paint on wallpapers that I see on Instagram where it's like, you can just pull it off and it's not like the heavy duty thing that you have to scrape. It's just stick and peel. And you can manifest that to show up in your world, or you can just open it up to what would it take to get this space feeling like whatever you had envisioned for like your next, whatever is comfortable, like a boho chic, whatever like thing. And then what I do is I sit with the feeling for, it takes 17 seconds. Yeah, 17 seconds for a thought to become like, to start being manifested in the quantum realm. And what you want to do is imagine yourself just feeling the feeling of the thing, the solution, being like, oh my God, like that's so simple. How did I never think of that? And that kind of like epiphany of, wow, it came full circle. So feeling it with the excitement of that for 17 seconds. For bigger things, I like to do it for 68 seconds. I know it's very specific. It's Abraham Hicks. So I'll just put like a phone timer on for, I give myself a little buffer because I usually need a couple seconds to kind of get into my element. And then I just picture the whole thing, like fill the whole grid with like the feelings you want to feel, the relief, the, oh wow, this shit really works kind of like thing about using this process, as well as like picturing any of your desirables. So whether there's a specific budget or whether you have like an inkling that it's going to come from, I don't know, some online store or somewhere nearby, like as much detail as you can fill in for the 68 seconds, and then just detaching and, hands off and just knowing that it's going to come. It's a big thing. Like it's really changed my life in really strange ways. And sometimes where I've been at like a crossroads or a dead end where I didn't know how you can do anything any further, it's literally just getting to the root of all of the limitations you've already, set. And then from there, having that trust and allowing it maybe with something smaller to come full circle so that you can build up that repetition of like, I know I can count on this and it's not going to let me down. It's not letting me here. So what I will do, I'll circle back via email to share it. It's just like it's on Notion and it's a bunch of the universal ask questions that I use. Some are hyper specific, some are like totally open to just open up my awareness. And you can also ask to manifest different viewpoints. So without even needing like a solution, that can be kind of like a secondary benefit that might come through, but you can actually just say like, hey body, hey universe, what would it take? What would it look like? What would it feel like to get to a point where we realized exactly why we need to be in this space, do it without actually even needing anything, like just getting to a place of like internally something just clicking. Oh yeah, perfect. I've got,
Sorry, that's me. I'm just trying to be helpful by taking notes if you didn't have the ability.
Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah. So the other one that I wanted to share today with regards to what we're feeling like emotionally, and as well as what we're doing with other people. So this sometimes happens when there is a relationship dynamic. Sometimes it is unintentional, other times it is intentional. So unintentional will be an example of people offering unsolicited advice. That's a good example. When you like catch up with you go home for the holidays, catching up with family, and you tell them about something, and then like your parents or your aunts or I don't know, whoever it is, just share something that like you're like, really, I was just telling you something about my life. I didn't really need that. And second of all, like, why are you trying to like burst my bubble? Or like, you're stuck in the Stone Age, like proverbial, like not in the sense of like meanness or resentment, but more just like, you're very limited, like being aware that this person is very limited in their perspective, or, you know, very conditioned to, you know, maybe like the best example I'm getting in my mind is like the okay boomer meme, where it's like, okay boomer, like what are you talking about? You know, not shutting them down, but just knowing that you know a little bit more than them, but you don't even want to open up the can of worms to kind of, you know, have to explain it to them because they may not be receptive to it. So, but without discharging this, this adds like a splash of like taint to your bubble, right? So the whole metaphor of like bursting your bubble or raining on your parade, it is quite literal in the energetic sense where, you know, you might brush it off, but without actually clearing the energy like consciously, it still leaves a little bit of a little, like a stain. Like it can taint your stuff, because then you're like, maybe they could be right, or like maybe I really am just being too unrealistic about this, or maybe I should be a bit more responsible. And even if you're brushing it off, you're still sort of battling with it in a sense, because you're like, well, you know, they're older than me, or like they are successful or whatever, so maybe I'm just wrong here, even if it contradicts like what you know to be true or what you're working towards that hasn't really transpired yet. So for this, what I do, bringing forward or bringing to mind the thing that you're thinking about. And then what I do is I say all of the projections, judgments, stories, meaning, and beliefs that have been, you know, that have been inherited from other people, from friends, from family, from coworker, from your bank, and you're talking to the customer service people and you're trying to like, you know, ask about a charge or something. There's people that obviously can see your account, and maybe they cast off a thought that, again, is like the grilled cheese thing attaching to your thing, and they're putting in a judgment that you didn't even know happened, but it's tainting it. And what you can do is just say, light it up, return to sender with consciousness attached. I usually snap my fingers. It's kind of like a habit that it just amplifies like the clicking it away.
I love it.
And it just, you don't even have to know where it came from, because there's sometimes things that you're holding that you don't even know what the source of it is. So the ones you can identify, that's great. Say, you know, from this person, this person, this person. The other ones just say from anyone else, return to them. And when you can see it or identify it as such, rather than making it personal, like, why is this happening to me? I thought I got over this. But just seeing it, okay, they're attempting to like send this bid for power, or this bid for, you know, making me question my reality. You can just, again, call it forward, call it out, return to sender with consciousness attached. And the consciousness attached is like the intent of like returning that where it came from, handing it right back to you with love and gratitude, but also a little bit of consciousness like, oh, okay, she is aware of what I'm doing. So now it's like that extra little bit of information of saying, I'm seeing what you're doing. I'm seeing your judgment. No, thank you. And that's not going to work here. And that's, you can do that for energies as well. So for emotions, or like, yeah, if someone's bringing you down, like a friend who's just like, you know, stuck in a rut, you can be helpful, and you should be. And, you know, it doesn't always have to be like, you know, all sunshine and butterflies to be there for each other, holding space. But there's a difference of like keeping it in your field, keeping it something you're carrying, even if you're just trying to support them. You can support them and then detach from it energetically by just saying, okay, so now, you know, I'm going home now, and I hope she feels a bit better, but also like, here's your stuff back, so that it's not going to be, it's layer by layer. And I wish that there was a way to like give glasses to everybody, because even like my whole life, I felt like so much that I had on my shoulders, but I couldn't energetically see it. And it's just like tiny bits that accumulate over time. And that's when you start to get like physical illness, you know, mental health disorders and stuff. And I'm not saying that it's all just energy. It's much more than that, right? And for example, like mental health and all that, those are very real, concrete issues, but a lot of it is also influenced by the energetics on top of like the actual issue, right?
I love it.
So the with like a hybrid of that, and the combination of the biomimicry, like the way we kind of adjust to the people around us. That's also going to be important to be doing for your circle. And, you know, your circle, obviously, like the 5 people closest to you, they say is like, you are like the sum of, you know, your experiences, but you're also like the sum of the people that are around you. This is not necessarily a bad sense, but it's just for things that you want to like, that might pop into your awareness that you want to be mindful of. For example, we all have a friend who's like, you know, I don't know. It's hard to put this to words without like making it sound judgy, because it's not really about that, but it's more just about the little bits of like clouds or bubbles that taint your field with others doing, you know, a certain pattern in their own life, where you're wondering if maybe you should be a little bit more like that because that's their norm. So you're using it as like a relative framework or a relative reference for your standpoint, versus like, I wonder if I'm not outgoing enough for somebody who's constantly, you know, going out every weekend, super social, super, you know, lots of people, and that's cool for her, but it may not necessarily work for you. So there's like that cognitive dissonance, or like that disconnect between like, I wonder if I'm too much of an introvert, or maybe I wonder if I'm not, you know, spending enough time, and it's all just consuming, you know, I guess energy unnecessarily, because unless that is resonant for you, there's no need to really change it unless it's something that you want to change. For the other ones where you're just questioning if you're like seeing things correctly, or if you're, you know, operating, I guess, like how you should be, or like what they should be, it frees up energy. And it's like a computer with like the hard drive. When you have like a program, like a certain software that runs, that just like kills the whole battery, and like, you know, your computer gets hot and everything else operates slower until you are able to like force quit the one application that's, you know, taking up. It's the same way with our consciousness, and we can't really see, you know, added, I guess, potential, or like added awareness is the word I'm looking for. Thanks. Awareness about, I guess, maybe higher details, or more, you know, more existential, but also more consciousness to notice and be aware of things within yourself, within your soul, within, you know, the person you're becoming, because you're spending so much time just operating little bits where it's just an energy leak. Like it's not going to make a difference in your life. It's just taking up energy because you're questioning like, they do it this way, I do it that way. Does this mean that they're right and I'm wrong? Does this mean like that I should be more like them? Probably not, but it's still, you know, taking up like, I don't know, 1.2% of whatever you're able to think about at the time. So that way you can just kind of shut that off and say, okay, thanks. Like I'm noticing that she chooses to be this way and I choose to be this way. And it doesn't have to necessarily mean anything about you, or, you know, whether you're right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. It's just about like what is aligned. Well, there is right and wrong, but like, yeah, it's, does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, I'm loving it. I'm following your train of thought. Like just the fact of like like you said, an energy leak, just not spending time chipping away at your energy and your self-esteem. It really is draining to beat yourself up all the time, kind of thing. Like,
cool. It is. And like, it's so funny, because I think the more that I've become aware, like in my own field this past year, I can, you know, I know how you asked in the beginning, how are there other ways to like ask your body like yes or no questions? Mm-hmm. You'll be so surprised to see like how much opens up when you start strengthening these skills. Like at first you're going to want to play around with it, and you'll get a yes, and sometimes you'll, you know, not really know the difference, but the more it becomes kind of like second nature, and the more you use it for big decisions. So like, if I apply for this job, oh, okay, sorry, this is the last tool. Thank you. So the last tool I wanted to share with you guys, and this is connecting to what I was just saying. Sorry, I just kind of switched gears here. The last tool I want to share is when you're asking your body about choices and even purchases. And again, it's not logically always going to make sense. If you're considering 2 alternatives, what you can ask is, will you create more for me? And more can be specific, will you create more joy for me? I just recently cleaned out my whole closet, and you know how you do the Marie Kondo, like, oh, does it bring joy? If it doesn't bring joy, you can just, scrap it because it's just wasting space. I cleared out so much by holding the pieces of clothes and saying, hey body, does this shirt bring you joy? And then feeling, and it was like an immediate sense of yes or no. But also when you're purchasing stuff, if you're asking like, oh, I really like this, I don't know, what's an example? Like this, I really want to take this course. This course looks really cool. It looks just for me, I feel like it has like the information, that little bit of like, I don't know what it is, but it's going to lead me to my next right thing. Or like, it just looks really like, if I knew the information in this course, then I could do so much with what I want to share with the world. But a good way to get like a sneak peek on that, like buyer's regret that sometimes we have, like, oh shit, like it didn't really turn out, or I can't believe I wasted my money on this. Again, your body will know the answer. Will you create more for me? Or more for the world, by just asking it, like, if I buy you and if I invest my money in you, like, what would it take for it to come back to me, or pay for itself virtually, because the effect or the benefit I'm going to get from it is going to save that amount of money. This acupressure yoga mat bed that I use, it wasn't like a need per se, but sometimes I get headaches actually quite frequently. And my body was like, yeah, if I buy this, this is going to create more for me, because probably I'll spend less money on, Advil, or I'll have more energy throughout the day. And you don't know how it's going to come full circle, but it's it's a really magical tool.
Love it.
Thank you guys for all tuning in. I really appreciate you guys joining.
Moment, like she's a person whose nervous system is always often in fight or flight, and she's just really hyped up and like just very energetic in a way that sometimes doesn't fit with the lifestyle I've been creating the last year while living here. Yeah. She's from New York City and all that, so hyper energy and stuff, and I love it at times, but there's times we're hanging out and I need to, kind of like block or like wall off my, empath nature and kind of just not take that on, because I don't have the energy with 2 jobs and, other duties I have to do in my life. And I don't want my heart rate to keep rising, and I love her. I just need to be around it. So what do you do in the moment rather than just like after?
Yeah, absolutely. So you said she's a roommate, is it?
Yes, she moved here as a good friend and just moved here to live with me. And she's wonderful, but I've been very much chilling myself out, introspecting through this pandemic. We haven't been together in a year because I moved here a year ago by myself. And with this, she's got so much, this is very, very low energy for her. So she's just constantly has all this energy at home, late at night, anytime. And so I'm kind of looking to not escalate to her energy level when I know I need to be winding down, and also just not get annoyed with her presence because I love her. So how do I kind of block that from really, the mimicry you were saying, kind of biomimicry, like how do I kind of try and tone that down and kind of put a little bit of a shield that some people seem to have? Because as an empath, how do I be less vulnerable to it?
Yeah, for sure. So the shield is actually what my first recommendation was going to be. Are you somebody like, and no judgment or anything, but is like, do you meditate? Is that like something that feels good for you, or is
I love to. I don't do it enough, but that's a great reminder. So I'm open to any meditation suggestions.
Okay, sweet. So I actually have a it's called the 12D shield, and I use this all the time. I use this when I go out grocery shopping, and I feel like sometimes in public, like you just people are nervous these days, and people are on edge, and you can feel it, but you also don't want to keep it. I recorded the 12D shield. It takes about probably 5-10 minutes. Like once you
okay.
The whole guided meditation is like 10 minutes, but once you understand the process and remember it, you can do it like on the spot within like 2 minutes, and it's just creating basically like a cylinder of light around all of your bodies. Like you have, your etheric body, your spiritual, your emotional body. So your entire auric field is basically covered in this crystalline white light. And it's really powerful in the sense where it just like, if something is coming in like a thought form, it just pings it back. So it's kind of like a mirror, like it just deflects it.
Yes, that's what I need. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's on my YouTube channel, which I'll put it here.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
So yeah, you just kind of bounce it back. I can envision that in a way too. Just it belongs to you, and like my energy belongs to me. It's kind of separation, but in a more gentle way. Like
It's exactly. So it kind of it's sort of like having the umbrella, right? Where it's like the stuff can hit it, but it's not going to come through and like make you like, soaking wet underneath. Like energetically speaking, whatever the equivalent is of that.
yeah, totally.
But I would also do a couple of clearing statements on like anywhere and everywhere I've bought and sold the idea that, or anywhere I've made it a wrongness, for me to hold my field and be on my level, like on my, in a calm, collected, whatever way you're feeling, versus what she's at, and making it a wrongness for you to not come up to her level, for you to be like, oh, hey, that's cool, I'm chilling, like, not necessarily needing to adjust it. So I would also clear anything that makes you feel like you have to adapt, because as empaths, we often have like a chameleon effect where you kind of slightly change yourself, not in an inauthentic way, but you just adapt to the people you're around. And like I used to do this customer service all the time. Like I'd be super sarcastic with one customer, and then the other customer I'd be like, oh, hello, sir, like I'm super formal. Like, it's like,
it works.
Yeah, it does. It's helpful, but it's also fucking exhausting, right?
To a degree, like there's a degree where it's cool and a degree where it's too much. So kind of finding my happy medium, like I can somewhat meet you, but not 100%.
A transformation clearing statement. So it's about what you've made so vital and important about, not changing too much of yourself. And you can adjust it obviously for your specific circumstances, but what have you made so vital and important about needing to match her on her energy field, or like always, speed up to accommodate her, rather than holding your field and seeing if she'll slow down to meet you on your level. Clearing that away. And then what I would do when you send the stuff back to her, that's, like the raciness, the jitteriness, after that, just say body BMM run. And that's basically balancing the biomimetic mimicry of everything you've taken it on. And like, when you start to get really—
Wait, sorry, I feel like I love what you're saying, but it's kind of fast. Could you I'm so sorry, just like repeat the last bit a little bit more?
When you're doing the clearing statements and also sending back the judgments, you can everything returned to sender. You can also say, instead of like judgments, criticisms, projections, you can also say like frequencies, like, I don't know, fidgety, what's the word?
Like anxiety or something.
Whatever it is that is her thing that you're picking up on, that you feel like is in your field now, you can just send that back to her as well. Like the anxiety, squirminess, excitability, return to sender with consciousness attached. And it's not going to hurt anyone. It's literally just giving back what's not yours, right? So it's not like it's harming anyone to send back what is theirs, because they're already operating on that level. So they're just going to get it back. And say, oh, okay, maybe I should like, tone it down a bit next time, or and that's where the consciousness attached comes in. But it's body BMM run. And when I do this after clearing away some of the layers with these tools, I feel like my body goes like zong, like it just ding, like aligns back into myself. And then I'm like, okay, this is what I'm like.
To be in your body, that's what I'm kind of looking for, and not be in the head and in her space and like swayed.
Yeah, big time. It gets a lot easier when you start, feeling into how good it feels to, like you said, be in your body. And then really just coming back out of like being in that cerebral mind state of like, sometimes like I will be so in my head that like I can feel myself like my consciousness is actually, how do I put this? Like in one of like, it's up here, like it's not even, and then I come back and just physically am like, okay, I feel my arms, I feel my legs, like I
Right.
feel grounded.
That sounds so incredible, and just like I'm here for it.
We have like these, sessions coming up, and then you can sign
Mhm.
up for whichever ones. Some will be like health, relationships. Thanks also for coming and checking this out. I appreciate you guys taking time to connect, and I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm going to be posting this the replay to YouTube, but I'll also circle back via email with the one sheet on universal asks that I was talking about. So I'll send you guys an email that way.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Have a
No
good
problem.
rest of your evening.
You guys too. Stay safe, okay?
You too.
Bye. Talk soon.